Okay, we're live. So my name is Cody C. Engdahl, and I'm the author that you know. I am the author of 5 novels, two nonfiction works, and soon novel number 6, and we'll talk about that as we get through our program today. We're going to do a book review from my good friend Matthew Harffy, who's got a novella out. So we're going to talk about that. Yes, I have tongue cancer. That's why I talk funny. We'll talk a little about that. I just got a feeding tube implanted, but I'm still able to drink uh, protein shakes. Watch me choke on this on live camera. And also, I'm going to be doing a book signing today, just south of Memphis in South Haven, Mississippi. So if you can, I hope to see you out there. So let's get started. So anyway, Matthew Harffy is a friend that I have really come to learn to love over social media. He's British. He lives in England. He's a very successful author. He has 2 series out. I think one of them is called the Time of Swords series, and the other one is called the Bernicia series. Matthew has made a name for himself writing, I would say, post Roman, pre-Norman invasion British medieval history novels. I think they take place around the 600s. I think one of them is in the 600s and the other one's in the 800s or something like that. It's very well known. If you're a fan of that era and that genre, you would probably know his name, Matthew Harffy. He's got uh, or he has a traditional commercial publisher. I think it's called Head of Zeus. And he's also has a podcast called Rock Paper Swords. I have been on that podcast, so you can check that out. Look for me. I mean, you should listen to it every week, but I'm in one of them if you want to check it out. But I'm always interested in people like I'm always interested in the fish out of water story. Someone doing something different than from what they're used to doing, or being in a place. Because I think I've been a fish out of water all my life. In fact, as a kid, I made up this story that I was from the planet Saturn, sent here to observe humanity, and that was my excuse for being so weird and different from everybody else. Uh, so Matthew, and this is what's really interesting. Matthew is a big fan of westerns, and when I mean by westerns, I mean like books that take place in the American West in the mid to the late 19th century. And that would seem kind of weird at first, a British guy who writes sword and shield novels. But if you think about it, when I was a little kid, I was making wooden swords and pretending like I was a knight. And I was, obsessed with like medieval things. And so here I'm an American, obsessing and having a fantasy about this. Whereas around the same time, because we're about the same age, I think we're about right at the same age. So he might be a year older than me. Matthew was probably growing up pretending he had 6 shooters and playing cowboys and Indians somewhere in England. So, and he's also a big fan. I think his favorite book he said was Lonesome Dove, which I need to read at some point because I've heard from multiple people it's a great book. Uh, so fish out of water, maybe not, because maybe he has had more experience. The punchline to this is at some point he's very successful. He decided that he was going to get past his own imposter syndrome, and he was going to write his first western, like he always wanted to do. That westerns are actually his favorite books, and he went to his publisher, and they said, "Okay, Matthew, you've done a great job. You've made us a lot of money. We're gonna let you do this." And so he wrote a novel. And I told him that I was really interested in the fact that he was going to write a western, a British guy who writes, Viking era books, and I thought that was great. And I felt in a lot of ways because I started off writing American Civil War just like he was doing the Vikings in Britain. And then, my last book was, I did the Mexican War book, and then I did now I'm doing European history. And there is that feeling, do I have the right to do this? Am I out of my lane? And seeing Matthew write Westerns gave me the inspiration and the license. I felt like, well, if he's writing Westerns, of course he can write European 19th century war novels. My latest one that's going to come out is a Franco-Prussian War novel as well. So I read the first novel that he put out, his first Western, which was called Dark Frontier, and I always get the name wrong. It's called Dark Horizons and Dark Frontiers, and it's Dark Frontier, and was a wonderful book. Yeah, he sent me did he send me an advanced copy? Yeah, he did. I mentioned that I was interested in it because of who he is and what he was writing. He's like, I tell you what, I'll send you an advanced copy. I said, sure. I read it. It was fantastic. I gave it a 5-star review, put the review everywhere. And so I don't know how well the book did. I'm not really good at keeping track of that. But I know that he was frustrated because his publisher was not ready to jump in of allowing him to write a sequel. And the way he wrote that first book, there was a lot of places it could go. He left it open. And the gist of that book, and I thought this was really interesting, and it's kind of what I did too with the Prussian Prince and the French Fiasco, is that the main character in that book of Dark Frontier was a British man who comes west and gets into an adventure. And so it made sense because it was a way, it's the same thing that I'm doing. It's a way of exploring a place that you're not from by putting a character that's kind of like you, experiencing it that. So all the cultural things that you might get wrong, it's okay because you're doing it through the eyes of this character that's like you. And so for me, my main character, Carl, he's an American born in Detroit. He ends up in the Austro-Prussian War, and he's, in the book I'm putting out now, Franco-Prussian War. So here's an American's experience in Germany fighting the Austrians, and then or actually in Bohemia. And now he's in France, and I won't give it away too much, but it's a fiasco. And so I thought that was very clever. It was a great book. So they didn't allow him to do a sequel right away, and I don't know if he will. He has talked about doing it independent, like the way I publish. But what he did do was write a novella. And a novella is, novels are usually 50,000 words or up. I think the Goldilocks of novels are about 80,000 words. My first novel was 56,000 words. My longest novel was 124,000 words. The book I'm about to publish is 109,000 words. So that gives you kind of a range of what they can be. Novellas are interesting pieces of fiction because they're not simply short novels. And usually a novella, I would say, is between 20 to 40,000, 20 to 50,000, I guess. And at either end, it crosses over with the next one up. So some books could be, is it a novella or is it a short novel? And what's the difference? All of this is subjective. But usually in novels, you have multiple points of view, or even if it's a first-person narrative, you have subplots. There's a lot of strings going through it. There's some complexity to it. What's interesting about novellas is that typically novellas is a singular storyline, and one that you can do in 20,000 words or 40,000 words. And the truth is, I do write novellas, but those are basically parts of my novel. My last novel, The Prussian Prince, is basically 5 novellas put together as a novel, because each part does have its own arc, its own its own climax. And so, and I'm beginning to understand and appreciate this because I've heard Matthew and his podcast partners, Stephen A. Mackay, talk about how they like writing novellas. I think Stephen writes a lot more of them because you can be very singular focused on a very tight story instead of something that's fleshed out with multiple storylines. And by the way, I like writing that way. And usually I have multiple point of view characters. I like writing in third person, omniscient narrator because I like to jump into other people's heads, including, my books are always have historical characters in it. And I'm very careful to be super as close to the real history as I can possibly be, even sometimes using quotes that I know the characters have made. But getting out of the main character. The other thing too is you can be in the perspective of the main character, get him to a certain point, and then leave him and go to someone else and bring their story up to a certain point, and then come back to your main character, and now he's in a different place, and you kind of catch him up. And I find it's an easy way to like leave my main character to do something else and come back to him instead of trying to write just directly everything that one person is doing. Um, but as a reader, I am a writer. I prefer third person. I'm not a big fan of first person narrative. So this is what's very interesting to me. Um, Matthew wrote his novel in third person. And the main character is British, and he meets this old, scraggly, cantankerous. I don't know if that's a real word or not. American gunfighter who is quite a character. So when he wrote his novella, and I'll just say when he wrote his novel, you can detect some Britishness in him because his main character is British and it's an omniscient third person narrator. But what he did was when he wrote his novella, it is that that old man American gunslinger that he's writing that perspective from, first person. And I'm telling you, it was brilliant. It was like Matthew had shed all his Britishness and became that old man telling you the story about his first love and his first killing. And it worked. It worked. There was one thing in it when I read where one of the other characters refers to his buddies as lads. And I sent Matthew a message. I go, this is great. I would do a word search. Anytime you use the word lads, switch it with boys. And he got back to me. He's like, okay, well, I only used it once, but great advice. Because no American uses the word lads unless we're trying to act like we're British. Doing a bad job. All right, let's get to this. All right, here we go. This is my review of Matthew Harffy's novella. It's by the way, comes out Friday the 7th. So if you follow the link down in the notes below, you can pre-order it, or you can order it once it comes out. I think it's a great read. You can read it in a day or two, and there you go. It might be your, and you don't have to read the novel to read it. So here we go. A review of A Man Dies But Once by Matthew Harffy. Matthew Harffy has mastered the voice of the Old West. I'm not typically a fan of first-person narratives, but the voice of old Jeb White recounting his first love and first kill was so vividly authentic, I could not tear myself away. A Man Dies But Once is a 20,000-word novella told from the perspective of Jedediah White, a grizzled old gunslinger who speaks it like a confession after a life of killing and perhaps regret. The story is a juxtaposition of his first sexual encounter with his first murder, seemingly two rites of passage in the Old West. The two create a dichotomy of love and hate, life-giving and life-taking rituals as the two opposite sides of the same coin. Excuse me. It's also a very interesting contrast to hear the old trail-hardened veteran retell a story from his younger, naive days. In it, all the seeds of the man Jedediah White becomes. I'm sorry, in it are all the seeds of the man that Jedediah becomes. Jeb Jeb White was a supporting actor in Harffy's full novel Dark Frontier. You don't need to read it first, but I bet you'll want to when you're done with A Man Dies But Once. Pre-order Harffy's book here. There's no preview on this. Let's see if there is. I don't think there is. No, it'll be the preview will be available um, on Friday. Here is, however, here's a preview of the Dark Frontier, so you can get a good sample of the way he writes. Now, like I said, he wrote this in third person, but the novella is in. Uh, he wrote. He wrote. I'm sorry. He wrote the novel in third person, but he wrote the novella in first. Okay, this is my novel. It's in third person. That'll be out April 16th, but you can pre-order it for only $1. It's going to go up to be $4.99 when it comes out, or whatever that is in your country, whether you're in France, Britain, Japan. And then, of course, here's a preview for my last novel, which is The Prussian Prince. You don't necessarily need to read it to enjoy the new one, but you might like it. All right, so that's it. That's the review. And if you do end up reading his novel, let me know. Uh, so my mom's coming tomorrow, and she's flying in from Detroit, and we're going to drive to. I have to get up in the morning and go to radiation treatment. I go to radiation Monday through Friday, and then we're driving to Memphis. We're actually driving to South Haven, which is if you go to Memphis and then you turn south and cross over into Mississippi. That's the first city or town right there. It's a nice little town, very clean. I'm going to be at the Landers Center, and we're going to be selling. But actually, you know what? I forgot. I have. Let's share screen. Let's see if this works. Because I wrote another blog post about it, so I got some details on it. Let me share some of these details here. Right. Where we go? That's my. Let me see if you're able to see this. No, I'm not sharing. There we go. Yeah, that's that cute little lady. That's my mom. That's me, and that's the guy who just bought Rampage on the River. All right. So, what did I say? Okay, let's click on this. Just making sure you're keeping up with me because I can't. Okay, there we go. That's there. All right. Okay, come see me March 7th and 8th at the Mid-South Military History and Civil War Show. If you follow me on Facebook, you've probably heard that I'm going through treatment for tongue cancer, but I ain't dead yet. Come see me and my mom at the Mid-South Military History and Civil War Show. Next weekend, March 7th and 8th, I'll be playing fiddle and signing books. By the way, what you're hearing right now, all that banging, I don't know if you can hear it, but that's my washing machine. The basket is off kilter, so when it spins, it bangs around. It sounds like a war is going on down there, but it's okay. You do what you can with you have. I'll be playing fiddle. Here's me playing fiddle. I don't know how that sounded on your end, but that's a little sample of. I'll be at my table playing fiddle all day, and hopefully selling and signing a bunch of books. Let's see. Here's some. So the Mid South Military History and Civil War Show. It's the oldest in the South. It's March 7th and 8th, 2025. The hours are Friday, 1 to 6 o'clock. That's usually the setup time. Mostly it's a kind of a preview day. It's a day that a lot of the exhibitors do some trading, but the public is welcomed in, and sometimes you can get some good deals on that first day. And then Saturday, 9 to 5 at the Landry Center, which is 4560 Venture Drive, South Haven, Mississippi, 38671. Uh, and $10 uh, or $15 for a 2-day pass. Children are free under 12. So hope to see you there. And yeah, it means a lot to me. Like I said, I have cancer, and uh, this, I had signed up for this, or they basically offered me a table because I play the fiddle. Um, so I get a free table comp to me every year as long as I show up with my fiddle and play, which I'm happy to do. But I was worried about it because I have cancer, and it was right in the middle of my treatment, and I'm beginning to feel I don't know if you can tell the difference in me or not. I've lost 30 pounds so far, and it's very difficult. I can't eat anymore. I have a feeding tube. We'll talk about that in a minute. So I didn't know if I'd be able to make it. Well, my mom was like, I'm going to come down there and help you, which is very sweet. My mom and I used to run a video production company in Detroit. We did commercials. We worked out of a TV station up there, Channel 4, WDIB, for years. So we had a great working relationship. And so it's really neat to have her now, because that was her company that she started, and then she made me a partner when I was old enough to work in it. And now this is my endeavor, Engdahl House, and my mother, who's got very talented. She's always run like ad agencies and PR and all that. She's done a million conventions. She knows how to work a convention, knows how to work a booth, a bundle of energy. So having her down here, first of all, it's a big help because I do have cancer, and I was going to go it alone, and I probably could have, but I really do need the help. So it'll be nice to have her there and to see my mom. I'm very lucky. I'm 54 years old. My mom and my dad are still alive. Excuse me, and still very much sorry about that. I'm just, I have stomach problems and all that because of the cancer. My parents are very much part of my life, and my father, we talk once a week, and my dad just went through cancer himself, so he's a big help. And yeah, it's neat. So okay, so the last thing, cancer. And just keep you up with it. I'm somewhere in the middle of my treatment, and I got a feeding tube. You know what? I'm gonna show it to you. How about that? So the thing is, they it got to the point where I couldn't eat, and so I literally just can't eat anymore. Can't eat right now, and I can't swallow food. And so they got me started on to get a feeding tube, but they were going to do it. Here we go. So that's what it looks like. There's literally a tube that comes out of my stomach. It goes into my skin, into my stomach, and then I lock it up. I open up this tab. I put a syringe first of water, push it in there, take it off, seal it. Then I have like food that comes in the form of a like a liquid, and there's no taste to it or anything like that. It's just nutrients, and I pump that into my stomach, and I gotta do that multiple times a day. It's the only way I can take it. Well, I can drink shakes, so I've been drinking shakes, and this is a challenge here. I gotta wash this thing. It's nasty. But other than drinking protein shakes, I'm pumping boxes of nutrients into strictly my stomach, and this is pretty much how I'm going to be eating until I'm done. Eventually, my ability to eat and talk without all this, and the problem is I aspirate. So like when I try to eat, the food goes down the wrong tube, and then it makes me choke. And that's one thing. But the other thing is if I get too much food down into my lungs, I could develop pneumonia and then die of that. But I'm not dying of cancer. I'm going to be fine. Come the summer, I'm going to be able to eat. I'm going to be able to talk clearly. Everything's going to be great. The book comes out. My book comes out April 16th. We're working on it. My mom's working on it. Laura's working on it. I'm working on it. Together, the three of us make a pretty good editing team. Mostly the two ladies who are you know, pointing out all the dumb things I did, you know, plot holes and typos and all that kind of stuff. And I'm finding stuff too. And we're gonna have a pretty clean book. And once that comes out, it's gonna come out in paperback, hardcover, uh, Audible, and Kindle Unlimited. So if you take in your books any of those ways, there you go. Immediately afterwards, I decided I'm going to go back. I'm going to re-edit Rampage on the River, which is my first book. I'm not going to make any major changes. I'm just going to clean up some things in it, just to make it a little bit more readable, because that's the beginning of my series. And I do have very good read-throughs. So people who read Rampage typically go on to Perils, but I just want to make that easier for them by just cleaning up some clunkiness in there that I don't like. I just recently read some of it, and it's not bad, but I can make it better. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna experiment with giving out a freebie. I'm going to create all my books have a glossary in the back, and I'm gonna make a master glossary, and I'm gonna give it away free to everybody on my email list. So if you're not on my email list, go down into the what do you call it, the description below, and there's a link. You just click on the link, type in your email address, bam, you're in. And so, because eventually what I'm going to do, the next thing after that is I'm going to write a novella, and that's going to be free and exclusive to the email list. So I figured by doing the glossary first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to compile all the glossaries and make a master glossary, give it away to my email list, put it up the ebook version for free, and the paperback for minimal, whatever the minimal at cost is. No money. I don't want any money from it. And then after that, I'm going to start writing Black James. I'm very excited about it. It's going to be my first nautical pirate book. I'm going to go deep into the whole sailing world, and I have some sailing experience myself, not enough. And I'm going to do a lot of research on, I mean, I'm never going to be, well, never say never, but, I want to do something along the lines of Patrick O'Brien or C.S. Forrester. And that's a tall order, tall order, tall ships. But I think it'll be fun. And I'm very excited about that. And then and that book will get away from Carl for a while. And then we'll come back. And I plan on doing 4 more novels with Carl. And then there's other things after that. So I'll leave it to I'll leave you there. I am expecting a package from UPS, so I'm kind of stuck to my house as a gift from my friend. What happens to be from Matthew Harffy, but it was he sent that to me not because I reviewed his book. It was after I reviewed his book. It's because we're friends, and I said that I'm looking forward to because I can barely talk, and I'm losing that ability, and I can't eat. But I said I was on social media. I said that I'm looking forward to the summer where I can be smoking a slab of ribs and drink some whiskey. So Matthew took it upon himself to send me some whiskey. He's a whiskey connoisseur himself, and that's very sweet. I will say this: that having cancer, I didn't realize how many people are pulling for me. I'm very lucky. My family, my friends from all over the world, friends that I knew years ago that are now Facebook friends, but I knew in real life, and the different lives I've lived in different places. The love, the outreach, the prayers. Well, it's been amazing to me. So thank you very much. I'm gonna leave it at that. Like I always say, if there's an author out there that you love their writing, make sure you let the world know that. Go on Goodreads, go on Amazon, just like I did for Matthew. Give them as many stars as you can. If you can give them 5, that would be great. And if you can, write them a few nice words about their book. It doesn't have to be very extensive like mine. It can just be, hey, I really liked it. 5 stars. That's it. it goes a long way to helping us because the algorithm looks at your average of stars and how many reviews you get, and that's how it decides how much it's going to show it to other people. So I'm going to leave it at that. I love you guys. I'm going to get better. I know this is kind of a low energy one. Because kind of low energy, but I'll be around. I'll see you guys next week.